telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
Well, good morning and welcome to Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Ekpo Temple. On the show today, the Tigers secure first Olympic win in 20 years. Nigerian boxer dies, denies doping allegation, and in football, Arsenal signed new defender from Bologna. Details of this and many more will be yours in RGF.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
All right, welcome back from that break. For those joining us, is Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have Emmanuel Michael here in the studio with me.
Yeah, good morning, Temple, and good morning to our viewers out there.
All right, quickly, let's start with some stories here. And the organizers of the Quora Closed Tennis Tournament have officially launched the competition campaign set to begin on the 10th of August with accreditation of participants. The competition will kick start on Sunday and 11th proper. An event will span 2 days in the Quora State capital. Athletes interested in participating are required to complete their registration by the tournament start date. And it looks like some of the, we hear that Nigeria's hope of winning medals in table tennis at the Paris Olympic eventually came to an end as the last Nigerian standing, Fatima Bello, who is an Olympic debutant, got eliminated in the women's singles in the round of 64 by Jai Nian Young of France. 4-0 it ended after losing 1-11, 3-11, 3-11, 5-1. For me, it's just about the way we struggle. I mean, clearly, at that level, you just know that the struggle is just too much. And the way we're all set out is not a good one at all. I mean, another 3-11, 1, 11-2. It doesn't tell well as at that level. It just tells the difference between what we have at the level of Europe and that of the continent. Very vast, and in fact, you can't even start comparing the likes of the Asian guys because they themselves they are good, so good that we are nowhere to be found.
Sure, you know, immediately, I don't know, Quadri, who more like our flag bearer, more like the flagship of the team, got knocked out in the first phase of the competition. I know it that psychologically it's going to affect the rest of the players out there, especially the the one that they are making their first time appearance at the Paris Olympic game, I think it also affected them, because when you are hoping on someone who you are counting on as one of the best to be knocked out very early, I mean, your hope of progressing through is even dampened. So I think it actually started when Haruna Quadri was
sporting units, participating in this one. When your federation is hosted out like football, we don't have any, except for the Falcons. So the moment they are hosted out, we need to ask a lot of questions. And I'm thinking that table tennis federation president should be thinking of way forward at this point in time now. And with this way forward, we have been singing it as song for the past 10 years. When Haruna Quadri was at his best, what can be done to bridge the gap between Nigeria, not just our continent, because for me, I think that we have dominated the continent for some time via Haruna Quadri, no doubt. But when it comes to
and a positive action taken so far in order to organize competition across the state for tennis lovers out there. Come there, showcase your talent. If you are good enough, you'll be picked and sponsored, promoted, and the proper care will be given to you. Possibly go off the shores of the country, get more exposure, get more experience, add that to what you know already, and that is how you get to bridge the gap. But then we'll keep relying all our hope on one man, talking about Haruna Quadri. Whenever he doesn't deliver, whenever he fails to meet up to the high expectation, and of course, a whole lot of responsibilities repose on him, because we see him as the only light for us out there. Whenever he falters, invariably the rest of the players actually, falters as well against other big nations such as China or Korea that are very good in that area. So for me, I think we need to wake up. The Nigeria Table Tennis Federation need to start thinking outside the box on what to do in order to also bring forth another Haruna Quadri, bring forth another Ofyong, recreate the spirit of Haruna Quadri in open play, so that at least we can be rest assured that whenever we head for competition, we can't just be counting on one man. Because when you put your eggs on one man, when that basket breaks, it's going to disorganize everything. And that is what we are seeing, that whenever Haruna Quadri doesn't deliver, we are in trouble.
Yeah, and become a very challenge. And for me, I think that we need to look at what is workable. Okay, it's not just, we are a table tennis nation at this point. Now you cannot deny the fact that we are a table tennis nation, because we have appeared in several Olympic games, we are. There are sports when you look at yourself, you say we are declining. For example, in football, we are declining in age football now. Age great football, where we used to be we are known for, we are gradually declining, and that's why we don't even have a team at the Olympics. How does table tennis evolve and is developed? What are they doing right? So I think that our leaders needs to, because once they go back to the drawing board, the drawing board is a place for you discuss, look at a post-mortem of what you've done. And so I ask, what are they doing right? Like now, what we've seen the Chinese. I watch their games, and I think that we are far away from what. If you see the way they play, they display, you just tell yourself that, man, can we have players like this, who are pacey, who are fast, and all that. So I think
the Chinese, when you talk about the Chinese and their progress in terms of tennis, I mean, it was a deliberate action.
Yeah.
They take this as a profession that most of these young stars, after they go to school, they are back to the training hall.
On daily basis.
On daily basis. These are people that have dedicated themselves that this is my profession, I want to improve on. The facilities are there. The organizers make that if the Table Tennis Federation have been able to also make it lucrative, you will see sponsors. There are people that are ardent lover of tennis. Because not everybody loves football.
I agree.
Not everybody loves basketball. People have their own interest in sport generally. So there are thousands of people that are in love with tennis. There are philanthropists that if everything is put in place, I tell you, naturally, those people will gravitate toward the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation to strike a partner.
It is beyond having a quarter table tennis tournament between 10th and 14th.
And it comes once
in a year. It's beyond having Lagos match between the WTC series in Lagos Contender Series between 2-3 days. And it comes once in a year. And all effort will be put in that one because organizers also want to make name and so it became a niche. Look at the likes of Kenya in marathon. These are things that they do almost on weekly basis. Our own, we do it once, Port Harcourt Marathon, International Marathon, once in a year. We have the Bini Pepper race and the Lagos International Marathon. I mean, but there should be a league. So if you have a league and have clubs, for example, in Port Harcourt, there was a time in Port Harcourt when we had snooker tournament. And so every area we were just building snooker teams, you know, the best of the best, develop them, the face. That was a league, and it was going on. It became like twice amazed. So it's still boiled down to the state too. So, like, I agree with you that the federation needs to do more, but then they need to channel their resources within the region to see what is workable and what is not workable.
True. And of course, many times some of these leaders, they travel outside the shores of the country to also have some form of new knowledge in them in terms of administrative prowess. They get to see all these lofty things that we are talking about in yonder over there. But when they come back home, implementing it.
Even Aruna Quadri, sorry to cut you, Aruna Quadri testified in the documentary that it was the club he was playing for in Portugal that developed him. So it was not Aruna Quadri playing for Nigeria, footballers. You know, so I'm thinking that the club system might just be one of the strategies that can elevate the challenges. Because I mean, it's I don't want to believe that at this level we'll just go with one thing that we know, which is the federation-sponsored tournament. We need to have a league system. Let's have Lagos clubs within Lagos.
Every day, every year.
Let's move on and let's talk about Djokovic. But we pray that someday we'll get to the level like.
It's not about prayer, yes. Temple.
Yeah, when I say prayer, now, I'm talking about prayer with effort.
See, there are certain about 14 Grand Slam. We expected him to up his ante, but then, like I said, when your strength can no longer carry you, despite your experience, despite your freaking, despite your smartness and all of that, it will come to nothing, and that is what happened to him.
And of course, Poland Iga Swiatek, who is favorite for gold in the women, goes breeze into the third round with a 6-1 win over Francis Diana Parry. And this is, I mean, a lot of person will tell you that with the anger of losing out in the last Grand Slam, that pain is still there in her, and this might just be her solace, getting to the final and getting to win this one.
Sure, and she's also very aware of the fact that other players are always also closing in the gap in terms of the world ranking. You know, losing at
her ranking is not even affected a little because of the big names are not there. Ina Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, you know, who would have given her a run for her money. And but if you look at the male and the female, we also saw Italian Jasmine Paolini finish runner-up. Also was very emphatic, got 6-4, 6-1 against Poland Magdalenetti. You know, Barbara Krejcikova, who beat Paolini to the Wimbledon, also moved into the last 16, as did Greek 7th seed Maria Sakkari, and Germany's Angelique Kerber, who is 36-year-old, is playing his final tournament of her career after announcing last week that she is going to retire. But I was saying that if you look at the ATP and the WTA at these Olympic Games, which will you go for to say we're going to see a better, more competition, you know, for us? So, competition now in the sense of the big names, you know, to getting that.
The intention of this year is to also unify all nations and bring peace, you know, in a dying world that is ravaged with a whole lot of, you know, misunderstanding. So for me, I think they are also carrying out, they are also matching action with word. That is why they've devised a means so that at least we get to see first place, second place, and third place. And for me, I think it's going to bring more peaceful organization and unity among the, you know, participating players and the world out there. That is why the Olympic game is one of the biggest games out there.
And then let's move over now to talk some basketball news before we go on a short break. Mike, after 20 years, the D Tigers were able to get their hands on a particular win against the Opals of Australia. 75-62 it ended, and what a wonderful feat. Musa Kida is a happy man today. It looks like anytime we play Australia first in any game, last time at the World Cup in football, what happened? And now again, But we saw the victory, glamorous victory. First off, your thoughts before we bring you to what went wrong for the Australians yesterday.
I think my thought was that Renan Wakama just said the right coach for the for the D Tigers, because you take a look at the short time that she had before she was actually appointed as the substantive coach of the D Tigers, even before the Afro Basketball Championship here in Africa. She had less than a month, but then she was able to galvanize this girl and get the best out of them when they conquered, won the Afro Basketball Championship. Coming back here, preparing for this year's Paris Olympic, played a couple of friendly or warm-up games building up to this Australian game yesterday. We actually lost all those games out there. But if you take a look at the point disparity in our losses to some of those games out there, it was very little. It's that 7-point disparity or 10-point disparity against some big-name teams, who are well ranked higher than, the D Tigers. So that was pointing finger to the fact that indeed we are ready for it. And when Australia came calling yesterday, the girls were able to deliver when it matters most, and it must also give Coach Renan Wakama, the kudos for what she did. I mean, the substitution that she brought on, so many persons were actually raising some concern and eyebrow when Ami Okonkwo was left on the bench, because she's one of, our standing player. So you expected such a player to start the game, but she, sat on the bench. But then when it needed her, she came in very clutch and delivered. The likes of Ami Okonkwo, Izine Carlo, the hard going for them is that they actually know that they were in for a history for themselves out there. 20 years having not won a single game. They knew it that if they are able to break that jinx, then their name is going to be written in the annal of history of Nigerian basketball. So they know this. Secondly, you realize that some of the players in the national team, talking about the D Tigers, they were disbanded from the team 2 years ago. Why? Because of the issue that they had then with the then sport minister and the basketball federation. Before they came back to be part and parcel of this Olympic game, the Nigerian Basketball Federation had to tell them they need to apologize, because you take a look at, especially when it has to do with their three-pointers. Some of the players like Makamura, these are players that are not all that tall.
Yeah, but exactly.
But you need to take a look at her three-pointer. Perfect. We never lost any, and that is what gave us an edge. When you have three-pointer and you're able to put it inside the basket, it is an advantage for you. So we did that. We're very clinical, and that is what I expect Renan Wakama to continue to tell the girls. Continue to work very hard in your three-pointers. Continue to limit the number of fouls that you concede. Continue to be very defensively resolute, because that is what they had going for them as well. I mean, it was a total team display. And if they continue with this zeal and the aspiration, I tell you, France is going to also suffer.
Las Vegas is Aja Wilson registered 24 points of the US, and this shows that we need to be at the top, because these two other teams that we're going to play, they don't come easy.
Especially for US, I think they are fear themselves for coming up against anybody. When you talk about their male or female basketball team, I mean, just forget about it. They know how to do this thing.
They know how to do
this
it.
This is their own area. This is their own.
You can't take it away from them. It's difficult.
It's very difficult. But then we can also try our best. It's just a matter of, last week I was trying to tell you about how most of our players invited to the camp have been very instrumental for their respective club sides out there. Of course, I do take time to go through history and statistics for me. I was able to peruse through the names of the players that were invited for the D Tigers. And I knew it that at least, even if we did not get to win the first game, but then we are going to surpass our previous performance, because the likes of Amu Kamara, Izine Carlo, Ami Okonkwo, these are players that are regulars for their club side out there, and you need some of these players to bring in their A game, bring in their wealth of experience and the exposure, having been used to European pattern of play as well, to match their opponent. Firepower for firepower, strength for strength, skills for skills, and that is what they did. So for me, I think we have this thing going for us. because most of our players are very, very good. I mean, take a look at the age of Rena Wakama. Just at 32, it might even surprise you.
Yeah, and she's doing so well.
That is what it means.
The blend with the team is more like...
God, that is why we are talking about having exposure. I tell you, if she has been here in Nigeria, she wouldn't have getting this kind of exposure. But all her life, she has based over there, rub shoulder with these people.
And to know that this lady is from River State, even
it gives us even more joy.
And who says that she will not continue to do a good job. And that's why I would say experience counts. But and it's always loving to get to see a coach. Nigerian, from all this now, look at the system and say, yes, while we appreciate, but we need coaches that have foreign experience in our teams, national teams.
True.
It helps. Look at what Randy Wardrum is doing in our Super Falcons. With their experience and the way they play, they can. Yes, Musa Kida is only to fund. She's not guilty of the doping charges. And of course, you know that before you go into any match at the Olympic, you must be tested. And so since our adverse finding were, came out that way, and we have lost a medal, no doubt, via her ban. She's saying that she's not guilty, but I mean, it's difficult to really prove that except you go through the legal rudiments, to express your concern. But this is not, it doesn't hold any water. But for her image's sake, she does have to come out to say she's not guilty.
Yes, and I think if she says she's not guilty, then there need to be a synergy. She need to also interface with the Nigerian Boxing Federation as well, so that because this is the only body that can be able to take up her case to cast. The Canadian team, they drove their drone, to spy at their opponent camp as well, and all of that. Now, they have already filed a case towards that, saying that the total
Paris Games. This is very interesting for me, and I'm sure that the man understand that this is where the medals comes from. So let's
also love other sport, but then maybe the ground is not fertile enough for him to come in and also splash money into some of these sports out there, because he owns a club at Italy.